Recently headed down to Nogalas, Arizona, which is on the international border between the United States and Mexico. So it's one of the border crossing towns, and brought the camera along in case anyone's curious as to this little slice of the U.S. So we rented a vehicle, and we're doing sort of the walk around here. Whenever I rent a vehicle, I like to take a camera and look around the inside and outside in case there's any dispute with dinks or dents or anything like that. This one was a RAV4. I honestly don't know who made it. It's a kind of a mid-size SUV. It worked out fine for our trip. So what we'll do is just sort of run through some bits here as we turn the camera on during the trip, down to Nogalas, a little bit in the town on the border there, and then on the way back. So if you're interested in a little tour of southern Arizona, here we go.
Turn left onto the I-19 South ramp.
And that is right here. Alright, so if we were to drive west here and go over these hills, that's 3-point shooting range where we do quite a bit of our videos. But we're going to take a left and head south for about an hour to the border.
Continue on I-19 South for 56 miles.
For about 56 miles, it sounds like. To the right here, just south of Tucson, one of our attractions is the San Xavier Mission, and that was made by Father Kino, if I remember correctly, way back in the day, before Tucson was even here. I've gone to at least one baptism there, I think one wedding there, and been there countless times with people that visit us from out of state. And we're going to be heading south. We're going to be going past things like the Titan II Missile Museum, which is on this road, I don't know, not even 20 miles down the road. I don't know if it's too interesting, but I thought I would point out the tailing hills here. If you look at a satellite view of Tucson, you'll see that there's a couple of pretty big mines right around here. They're for copper. Now, they're not the most filthy mines ever made. They use a water filtration process, basically soap and water, to separate the copper from the rock. But there's these tailings. So they dig a giant hole and they got to put all that rock somewhere. So it just gets kind of put out. And eventually, I suppose, these will look like regular hills again once some vegetation grows on them. And to their credit, they do try to repopulate those with vegetation at some point. But right now, they're actively growing. They're actively putting stuff there. Check out the little museum there. They've got some outside exhibits, and then an inside, museum with some really neat mineral specimens. And then you get on a bus and it drives you past all these tailing hills up to the actual open pit, and you get to look inside. And then, more interesting than that, is you get to go into the buildings where they process the copper, and it's really neat. It's just a giant machines with huge ball bearings that crush the rock in like a slurry water solution, and then they use soap, bubble soap up through it, and that's what separates the copper from the rest of the rock. So as opposed to acid or something that's more toxic. But we've got a fire in the mountain over here. This is south of Tucson, and it's called Madera Canyon. And it's a canyon. Back in the day, it was one of the few places they could get wood to build and for the mine shafts and things. You need a lot of wood. rest area, 2 kilometers. No, you didn't read that wrong. Because there was another interesting thing to talk about on the road. And that is that this little stretch of highway between Tucson and Nogalas is, I believe, the only stretch of U.S. highway that's in kilometers, that's using the metric system. And hopefully, while I'm rambling here, we'll go past another sign. But it's about as confusing as can be because, of course, nobody really is used to dealing with the metric system here in the U.S. So when we see a road sign, 2 kilometers isn't too bad, but when you see the 86 kilometers to Nogalas sign, you know, most people's brains are going to think 86 miles, so yeah, you got to do the conversion and figure out that's about 56 miles or whatever it is. So, yeah, we're not going to see any signs. Aravaca, tiny little lake between the Tucson and the border that used to be a pretty fun lake to go fish. Unfortunately, with the smugglers and all that, it's not exactly as fun as it used to be. One of those Route 66 type places that made people want to check it out just because of the store or the front of the building. I think there it is. You can see the big steer horns on the front of that bar. A Border Patrol's checkpoint. Now these, I've been out here for about 20 years. These used to be intermittent, and they're definitely not that way now. You can see there's a giant tarp covering or whatever. They're checking the vehicles as they go by. Everybody has to stop. Got an idea what the checkpoint looks like going south, and of course going to Mexico, there's no checkpoints. We can do whatever we want going to Mexico. It's just going back north. Be prepared to stop and have them look through your vehicle. Alright, now we're down in Nogalas, and I've got to pay a little attention so I don't accidentally drive into Mexico or anything. And then I'm getting off of this because it says International Border Signal ahead. So I'm getting off on International Street, and we can see the hill there. I have no idea if that's actually Nogalas, Mexico, or Arizona. I'm going to guess still. Oh no, that's the border right there. So we're looking over into Mexico. Boy, I definitely turned at the last possible moment. Because there's the actual border wall, and that building and stuff is in Mexico. Yeah, this is exactly where I was hoping to go. This is where all the parking is if you want to walk across the border. And there's the picket fence or the chain link or whatever. And now I'm going to drive down this road, which I don't know the name of, but it is parallel to the border. There's the border being held up with some sticks and things. Now I'm going to drive around in Nogalas, Arizona, which is not the Mexico side. So now this road that's the border right there. So we're literally paralleling the border right here. I don't know if anybody wants to put odds on if we see somebody jump the fence here or not. There's looking over into Mexico. Border Patrol guy sitting on top of the hill. You can see another one there, another one up the hill. So we're actually looking across the border there. I'm in the United States right now, but those buildings and things are Mexico. And that big fence right there is the fence we always hear about. So that's where people walk across that. Border Patrol guy. That's the building you come back from. When you're in Mexico and you're coming back across, you come out over here somewhere. So those are a bunch of people that are in Mexico, and they're heading back this way. And this is definitely not the big border crossing. This is the little one in the middle of the town here. And that's where you walk if you're gonna walk across. So now we're leaving Nogalas, Arizona. We're pointed towards Tucson. Generally, it's over that way a little bit. But we're heading north again, out of this Nogalas and back towards Tucson. Well, Mexico does not like firearms. Ask me how I know. Because those signs, I don't know if I'll be able to catch them. Those signs there are the ones that warn you that Mexico does not like firearms and not to take weapons or ammunition into Mexico. I drove past them like 90 miles an hour coming down here, so I didn't get the camera open in time, but if it worked this time, now you know. Don't take weapons into Mexico. That's why it's so crime-free down there. We found a pretty neat hilltop to try to explain all this. So those mountains actually are probably in Mexico, and then we can kind of see the highway coming across here if I zoom in, and that's I-19, which is the big thoroughfare between Tucson, Arizona and Nogalas. And I just found this hill to drive up on, and we can see that it's gonna go to the Border Patrol roadblock there. Alright, so we're coming north out of Nogalas to the Border Patrol checkpoint here. As I mentioned on the southward trip, if I included that in the video, not 100% fan of this. I'm definitely of the opinion that you're innocent until proven guilty, and unfortunately this makes you be guilty until they've checked you out and made sure you're innocent. There's the dog working. Looks like they cut something in that car. He's being a good boy. Did his job. And I think everybody's now gonna stop because of this. Nice of her to get stopped on video. Alright, that was a Border Patrol checkpoint. Pretty cool. Had a chance to see the working dogs in action. So, always interested in what canines are doing. Border Patrol sort of lookout tower, I guess. And this is like remnant to the old Border Patrol checkpoints. They would have these things sort of portable, and they would just set it up here or there or wherever. You can see the painting as we're driving down the road here. These things used to be set up at different places, and you didn't know if it was going to be there, where it was going to be, what road it was going to be on. And I don't think they do those. I don't drive around down here that much anymore, but I don't think they do it like that anymore. I think they're just permanent positions like that one. So it's one of the things you have to deal with. It was definitely a culture shock when I moved down here. They do one between Arizona and New Mexico, and I guess that's been there forever, and that one is checking to see if you're dragging fruits and vegetables across the country. We just did some video on here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. it off. So I don't know if it'll show up on the video here, but up above the highway there in the air is a Border Patrol helicopter. So it's not like we're in the war zone here on I-19, but we're in one of the drug corridors. There's that Border Patrol helicopter patrolling the highway, and probably watching for people stopping and jumping off the side of the road and bypassing the checkpoint or something, or people driving down the road videotaping. Who knows? Tucson isn't too far over, just the horizon there. I zoom in all the way on the horizon there. You can, it's kind of filthy today, but there's some hills back there, and those are our Catalinas. And we're just coming up into a ridge of mountains that'll become the Tucson Mountains on our left, or on the west side of town. And we're about to pass that Elephant Head Butte, that one that's sort of in the sunlight. Yeah, right there. And that's where the repeaters are for Green Valley, which we're about to drive through right now, is the city of Green Valley. And their ham radio club keeps their repeaters up there. There was a fire back behind that little butte earlier today. It looks like that's done, so that's good. I mentioned the metric road signs. There we go. Tucson, 53 kilometers. It's deceiving because it's like right there. It's like 20 miles or something. But 53 kilometers makes it seem like we're quite a ways away. Thought I might talk about the reservation a little bit, since I'm just kind of on the side of the road here looking at these signs. If you're not in a state or in an area where you have Indian reservations, you may not realize, but you're really not invited to go on the Indian reservation. It is its own jurisdiction, its own country, really. So you know, I'm fine to be on the road here, but if I was to go fart around in those rocks, they could prosecute me, and they probably would, just because they don't like people messing with their reservations. So if we went that way, we would hit that Santa Xavier Mission, and if we go this way, we'll kind of go up all in the back end of Tucson here, and that's where we're headed to, kind of the back way into the airport slash Davis Monthan, the Air Force Base. And it's just a little road I learned back in the day. I think I just found an app to do blog TV, and if that's the case, we've got this rental vehicle for a few more hours. We'll be doing some blog TV, and there's one of our casinos. In front of us is the airport. As I mentioned, I kind of came in the back way from the highway there to the back end of the airport here. Well, I came to a pretty cool place here to try to do an introduction to a welcome video to let people know that we're going to be blogging. But so far I can't get this blog thing to accept my username and stuff, so we'll try to get this thing working. If we can, we'll be blogging tonight. If not, we attempted to blog, and we'll figure it out at some point. But I'm going to keep driving around the airport here because it's cool. Right around now we're at the end of the runway, and there's that plane coming in. Still can't tell what it is because its lights are shining right at me. It almost looks like a A-10, but 10s don't land here. No, it's just some plane. Pretty neat though. I'm not actually stopped, so nobody can arrest me here. Let's see what it looks like when it comes down on this side. I'm not allowed to stop. Show people around Tucson a little bit. Thanks for watching.